Hey, Steve Moran here. I'm getting to talk today with Kathleen about one of my very favorite pieces of technology that's also a senior living foresight partner, Caavo. And the best thing in the world is to actually talk to people who are using technology and like it. So, Kathleen, let's actually start a little bit with who you are and what you do, and then we'll talk about Caavo.
Sure. I'm Kathleen Douglas, and I am the executive director at New Haven at Little River, which is here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And I've been doing senior living for about 20 years now, so long time.
Cool, cool. What levels of care? I guess I should ask that as well. You doing assisted, independent
So
living?
we have all three levels of care. We have independent living, assisted living, and memory care.
Okay, perfect. And just to provide some context, and you may need to help me out because I know there's been a lot of growth in it, but what Caavo does is take the complex problem of TV and simplify it. So thinking in terms of every time that one of your team members needs to go down because the remote doesn't work or they can't access whatever channel they want to do, basically they make that problem, and I won't say it necessarily 100% disappear, but mostly disappear, right?
It does dramatically decrease problems with the TV, or that the TV is broken. In fact, in assisted living, because we routinely check on our residents through the shift, the number one reason people ring the call bell is usually that the TV's broken. And it's because they've hit the wrong button on the remote, or our cable company is not particularly user friendly. So Caavo has dramatically decreased those kinds of calls and our need for the caregivers to actually go to the rooms to fix it, because we can fix it remotely.
Okay, so how do you talk to me a little bit about how you fix it remotely?
So the residents can use two ways to contact us. They can hit a tile that says assist, and it will send whoever you direct to get that message a message that says call me back. And at that point, we can either text them and it pops up on their TV, or we can video call into them, and we can kind of look at their TV through the Caavo app and then determine what's wrong. Is the cable box off? Is the channel on the wrong thing, or is your input wrong? So we can actually walk them through how to fix it right then and there. Instead of having the caregivers go, it's the people on the admin team who are assigned to Caavo that help fix those issues.
Cool. And are you using it for anything else other than that? Because I know it's got some other capabilities.
Yeah, so we use it for a few things. My favorite one is the broadcast announcement. And so everybody who has the Caavo box, if there's something going on, like, we had the flu clinic yesterday, I can send a message out that says flu clinic in the bistro 10:30, and it pops up on everybody's television. So our participation in those kind of events has dramatically increased. We can also call people if we haven't seen them. And the residents can look at our menu and the activity calendar on Caavo as well.
Okay. And do you find that they're mostly using the remote, or they mostly use voice?
It's probably 50-50. A lot of them are the remotes are very simple. They're color coded. And so they kind of match what's on the screen. So some people talk into the remote. It's usually people who have visual impairment that talk into the remote. And then some people are still using the actual remote. That was a learning curve, was to please put all the 600 remotes that you have for all of your equipment away, and then just use your Caavo remote.
Yeah, so that's a big win, and it's funny. I can, like, at least I think of myself as being pretty technology savvy, and there are things I use voice for, primarily dictation kinds of things, but I just have never. And it's a personal preference, and maybe I just need to train myself. But the voice command thing, I just have never done much with, and I don't know. Somehow it feels, I don't know, cheating or something. But so I'm sympathetic with that. But I probably should train myself to do that better. So so you would recommend getting you're happy with the decision?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been a great addition to our ability to communicate with the community. The families also really like it because families can actually call into the resident's room and check on their parents. They can send pictures. They can send text messages. They also can, like, we get a lot of people who call their family members and say, I can't find the football game. And with the Caavo app, they can actually change the channel on the TV to the football game from the app.
That is so cool. My wife used to care for a woman, or provide some support for a woman who was an independent living community, and she'd have to go over every weekend and turn. This is
Yeah,
during COVID, so she'd have to go over every weekend and turn on the church service for her
yeah,
because the community just couldn't figure out how to get that done. But if they had Cavo, she wouldn't have had to. I mean, they liked the time together, so it wasn't like it was
yeah.
terrible. But if you're across the country or something, that could be huge and becomes a huge benefit. Can you talk to me a little bit about the installation process and what that was like?
Yeah, so it's actually very organized. We started talking with Caavo a couple months before they actually came to install the system, and we New Haven is the first building in our company to sort of test drive the system, and so we started talking with them about what kinds of things we would see as being helpful. What would we like to see on Caavo? They train you on how to install the system. So we have people on the ground that can actually set up a Caavo box. So when somebody moves in, we just plug them into the Caavo system now. And then when they came. All of the equipment had been shipped previously to them arriving. And when they came, I think it was probably 2 to 3 days where they send a whole team and they just install it on every television in the building that gets and you can decide who gets the boxes and who doesn't. So it was very smooth and streamlined. It takes it takes about, once you're savvy with it, it takes about 15 to 20 minutes to set up the Caavo box and install it. And they did that with every resident in independent living and assisted living.
And I guess the last question is, do the residents like it?
They do. So change is very hard for folks. The older we get, change is hard. That once they understand that it's a much simpler process, because if you think about your cable remote, there's so many buttons, and that might be something that detracts from using a voice command because there's buttons for you to push for the menu, etc. Here on the Caavo remote, there's not as many, and so if you want to see the channel guide, you just say guide. So it's more, you're more likely to use the voice remote, and the residents really like that. But they love having the ability to feel like they're informed, even though it's posted all over the community what our activities are. They love it when it pops up on their TV.
So it's like getting a calendar message, like I most of us love and depend on for our next meeting, right? So
Yeah,
so does the TV have to be on?
it doesn't have to be on. So when you send a message, you can determine the sender of the message whether you want to turn the TV on if it's a really important message, like a false alarm on the fire alarm. You can turn the TV on so that it shows, or it will just appear when they turn the TV on next.
Okay, cool. Well, Kathleen, I'm already a big fan. I think it's fine. One thing for me to say, I love Cavo. I think they're a terrific tool, and it's easy for people to say, yeah, but you make money from them, which is true. But it's really terrific to hear from a customer. I'm a big believer in what they do. I just think that it makes life for residents. I think it makes life for family members, and I think it makes life for your team easier. And that's really, in my view, what technology is ultimately supposed to do.
It really does. And I think one thing, I mean, there's many products out there to communicate with residents through technology. And the neat thing about Cavo is that you actually talk to real people. They constantly check in with you. They send trainers on the ground, but they also can personalize the program to whatever you need it to be. And they're very flexible and are always willing to try to add to the program. So that's been, I think, the best part about working with the Cavo team.
Cool. Well, Kathleen, thank you very much. This has been terrific. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you, by the way.
Nice to meet you too.